Thanks for stopping by our booth here after what you said was a pleasant day for practice. You're like me. You, as long as there's not much steam, you can deal with the drier heat. Is that fair to say?
Yes, indeed. I mean, growing up in California, is dry heat. I can deal with that all day, but when you get to that, steamy humidity, that's when it kind of gets to me. So I'm glad today was a nice day, nice and dry, nice breeze.
Well, congratulations on the promotion, because I mean, there's not much question when the team makes a decision to move away for whatever the reason from a guy who's been a stalwart, who you know well and who I know you have great respect for, Dalvin Cook. That's an affirmation for you.
Yeah.
How did you view it?
Yeah,
How
I
have you
definitely.
viewed it?
It's it's one of those things where I'm blessed to be in this position, and I'm truly honored and thankful that I'm in a position where the leadership believes in me, the coaches, they believe in me, and I'm coming back to an organization that believes in me, and that's one thing that I don't take for granted, and one thing that I definitely want to make sure that I prove them right. And so, yeah, it's truly an honor to be in this position and a true blessing.
It's a different position, too, in that, when you're the guy, now I'm sure other runners will be used. I don't know how much they've fleshed out the plan. But clearly you have ascended to be the number one running back, which means to a certain extent there is more heat on you. There is more, I guess we would say, expectation. Do you view it that way? And is that, obviously I assume that's something you think that you can handle and maybe even thrive in, because maybe you get into a better rhythm as well, correct?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things, you understand what the expectations are. You understand the pressure of being in this situation. But I take the pressure off myself by, preparing like a pro, practicing like a pro, and recovering like a pro, like I always have. Me and Dalvin, we always have had this thing where we understood that it wasn't a one and a two, but we had two starting backs in the same backfield, and eventually it was going to come a day where one of us was going to have to leave, and we knew that, and we joked about it, even just the way that we practice and the way that we, just kind of bounce off one another and learn from one another. So I think that has helped me over the years prepare to be in a situation like this and not put too much pressure on myself and not think too big of what the expectations are. And like you said, I feel like I'm a downhill runner. As the game goes, I feel like I get better, getting a better rhythm and all that. So this time I'll be able to do that from the start instead of having to come in after the game's already gone.
What do you think over the years you learned from Dalvin, working with Dalvin?
Oh, man, I think one of the biggest things I could say I took away and learned from him, and that I try and implement every single day, is to be that little kid, that 6-year-old kid that fell in love with the game. Be him every day. Have fun with this, and don't let this get too big and too heavy on your shoulders or anything like that, because that's when things go south, when you stop having fun with it. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned from him, is just have fun. And then obviously the competitor that he is, the great player that he is, just the standard of what it takes to be a great running back and the consistency of that, taking that from him as well.
When did you fall in love with the game?
I believe I was 5 years old when I first saw my brother put the pads on, saw him practice, and I wanted to get out there too, and I couldn't. That's when the fire lit inside of me. And then, when I turned 6 and I put the helmet on for the first time, I didn't know what love was back then, but I definitely look back at it now and say that I fell in love with the game, and I never looked back.
Was that the only game for you?
Yeah. I played soccer. I played t-ball, the young kid sports, but really that was it for me. Football was it. Then, as I got older, I started to trickle off and to do some other sports, track and field, wrestling.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who were the guys, running backs, that you either had great respect for or tried to emulate, or just for whatever reason you felt like you connected with?
Yeah. Starting out when I was younger, which is pretty crazy to me, Adrian Peterson was one of my guys that I studied and tried to imitate and implement some things. Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch, and Jamal Charles. Those are 3 backs that I really studied and really watched growing up. And so it's pretty crazy when I told him this after a game when he was with the Redskins my rookie year. And we played them, and I shook his hand and told him after, we were having a good talk, chopped it up, and was like, man,
I'm sorry to make you feel old, but I grew up watching you and shaping my game after you.
What is it? Was it the strength of the pot? What was it in particular that hit you with those guys? You think?
Yeah, the explosiveness, the quickness, in and out of cuts, the contact balance, catching out the backfield as well. With the way that Marshawn Lynch would in the screen game, Jamal Charles, and the way that he was just a workhorse and a downhill runner. Just looking at those things within all three of those backs, I think I resonated with them. I kind of saw myself a little bit in the way that they played, so I just tried to take little things from each back and just, as I grew older, just continue to add it into my game.
Vikings running back Alexander Mattison joining us after Vikings practice today. For anybody who has not seen you run for whatever reason, what would you say, how would you describe what you think is the strength of your game, what you try to bring to the position?
I would say, from the words of a great coach of mine, Lee Marks, downhill, fast, and physical. That is, I have it written on a whiteboard. That's my running style. Downhill, fast, and physical with a violent knee drive. And I read that to myself every day, and that's kind of my motto when I run the ball, and everything else kind of falls into place after that.
So to me, in part what you're saying is don't try to be something you're not, right? I mean, do accentuate, emphasize the strengths that you bring to it. Don't try to be a guy who can't, whatever reason, can't do other things that we might associate also with the position. Do what you do well.
Yeah, definitely. And I take pride in being a very versatile back. Being able to, I have great hands. I can catch out the backfield, and being very versatile in the way that I can play this game. But definitely, that's what my running style is, and that's where I have to make sure that that's my identity in what I do before anything else.
It sounds like, this offseason there was a lot of discussion. You guys added a tight end, Oliver, and there's been a lot of discussion of, okay, obviously with Dalvin, there's a lot of great strengths, including the ability to break off a big play, and he had some big ones last year. But in talking and hearing from your head coach, it sounded like, okay, but the other thing we got to try to fix is too many 2nd and 10s on a first down run, or 2nd and 8s, or 2nd and 9s. Part of what they seem to be looking for is greater consistency in the ground game. Can you speak to that? Do you guys talk about that? Is that any impression that you've gotten about what you're trying to do to take the next step as an offense in terms of the running game?
Yeah, definitely. We know that we weren't as good as we wanted to be last year. We know that there's so much potential in every single play that we ran last year. There's great plays that we put on tape, but there's a lot more left out. There's so many yards left out there. So looking into the details of things, the blocking scheme, finishing, 1 or 2 more steps into those blocks, getting up to the next level, receivers, getting on their right guy, and then running backs are staying on our tracks and hitting it full speed, and knowing our aiming point, knowing who we're reading, all of that. And putting all those things together, locking in on those details and putting it all together is going to make sure that our running game is 10 times better this season.
There's been a lot of discussion in the last few weeks about how many running backs are still available, Dalvin included. I know allegedly he's close maybe to sign. You probably know. He's probably told you. So if you want to break any news today, let us know where he's going to end up. But it's started this debate about the position, that it's not as important as it was, or you can get picks in any or running backs in any round of the draft, etc. This is your position. So is there a part of you that wants to scream, no, we still should matter even in a passing league? Because it just seems as if there's a lot of really good runners that are having a hard time finding a place to play.
Yeah, I don't understand it. The business of it all is beyond my my pay grade, but I would say definitely that the backs do matter. I would say definitely that we have an impact on this game, and if you just want to try it out and take a running back out for a season and see how you fare, it might not be so what you think it is. So I think that there definitely needs to be a little more respect and value put on the position, because we do bring a lot to the table. And I think this will be a great year for us as a committee of running backs to go out there and prove that.
So this was the first day in pads, and I'm wondering if you've had some impressions about the changes philosophically, defensively. Obviously a new coordinator Brian Flores, who comes in here with a great rep and a rep for a guy who wants to mix it up, wants to create pressure. Last year the team was more of a layback team in terms of the philosophy. Have you observed the differences already? What have you? I know it's very early in this process, but what have you picked up?
They are very intense and physical, and it's an intimidating thing for an offense when you have a defense that's from the jump. They're moving around, they're flying around. It's one of those things I think is going to cause a lot of problems for offenses. So I'm super excited to see how they continue to unfold. I mean, we've only probably got a small percentage of what he has in his back pocket for that defense. And, yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to cause a lot of problems.
How encouraged are you now that the Daniil Hunter saga is over and he's back at least for the rest of this season? I assume, again, you're about the whole team, that has to be a very welcome piece of news.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's one of those guys you don't want to see on another team. You want to see him in a purple jersey. So it's awesome that we have him back. We're excited to have him back, and I think it's time for him to go out there and prove what he's worth. And I think he's going to make a big difference in how this whole defense under Brian Flores just takes off.
Well, just a couple last things for Alexander Mattison joining us after Vikings practice today. We'll talk to Kevin O'Connell tomorrow when we're out here. In your career at every level, what's, in terms of the kind of coaching that you think best works with you, approaches that best work with you, that resonate with you? Is it a lot of yelling? Is it just tell me what my job is? What has tended to work that you connect with?
That's a great question, honestly. I think a little balance. I don't want a coach to just kind of slap on the back type of, just coach me through it, but put a little pressure. If I'm messing up, get on me and let me know what I need to fix. And then on top of that, just give me the tools that I need to go out there and perfect my craft and do the best that I can do in my position. And I think we have a great coach in Coach Maude right now who's got a great balance to him. He's not too over the top and not too aggressive, but he also makes sure that we know what we're doing out there, and he corrects us, and he explains things right on the spot. So I think that type of balance is exactly what I need.
The players, I mean, over the years that I've talked to players, a lot of them tell me, if you just get on me without explaining precisely what I have to do better, that's where it gets frustrating. It's just that the yelling only goes so far if you don't give me the tools to make it better. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what this game is about, is correcting things, and you have to be able to go out there and perfect the details. And if there's a little bit of a detail that's misunderstood and not completed to the best of your ability, then let's correct that. And so I think within this game of football, that's probably the best way to go with any player.
Last item, have you watched any or all of the Netflix quarterback series in which it appears your quarterback's going to be nominated for an Emmy, I guess? Everybody says he was brilliant in it. And if you watched it, what did you make of it? Because you're in the middle of it, kind of, and yet you're seeing this big production. How did you observe it?
It was honestly, that was amazing to see. Nobody had any idea that this was going on, so it was pretty awesome and authentic that we were able to be just around authentic Kirk, and no one knew that there was any filming or anything going on. But I think for me, it was awesome to see what I already know, and to get responses, text messages, and everything from people like, "Hey, I didn't know Kirk was so cool. I like him." And I've been telling people this whole time, I don't know why he gets so much hate and criticism or anything around. For me, I think from my perspective, I see a lot of it, and I don't know why there's so much. But I think this series just embodied exactly who he is, and everyone got to see, Kirk is so lovable. There's no way that you can hate this guy, and he's also awesome and amazing and tough on the field. So nothing but respect for him and his family, and that was awesome to see.
Thanks for coming and see us. My best for you this season. Hope it goes well, and hopefully we can check in every now and again.
Yes, sir.
Thanks
I really
so much.
Appreciate that.